Shalom Uvracha from Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh. This evening, with the help of God, we have the privilege of studying chapter 1, Mishna 7 in our Pirkei Avot studies, in our series of studies of the ethics of the Father. Tonight's teaching, tonight's Mishnah, we find the three major teachings of one of the great rabbis called Nitai Ha'arbeli. We spoke a little bit about him last week. He is one of the heads of the Jewish community. We learned last week that he worked together in what we call the special religious peers who were leading the Jewish community. At the time, one was Yehoshua ben Parachia, and one was Nitai Ha'arbeli. Nitai from the section of Arbel, from the community of Arbel, and we find three teachings of him, three teachings of his, not of him, right? Of his. Sorry for the grammatical error. Three of the teachings of Nitai Ha'arbeli. Number one, Herahek mishachein ra. Distance yourself. Keep away from a bad neighbor. Keep away from bad neighbors. A person is influenced by the people that they associate with. If you have a neighbor who is the opposite of righteous, if you have a neighbor who is involved in the opposite of proper ethical behavior, then something may impact upon you. If one walks through a herring factory, even if you don't touch any herring, something is absorbed, you know. So be careful, be careful. Herachek mishachein ra. Maybe one of the considerations when a person chooses the place of his or her residence should be who are the neighbors. Who are the neighbors? Not just the resale value of the home, not just the commute to the local work center, not the shopping conveniences, not the... Who are the neighbors? Who lives next door to you? You don't care who lives next door? Well, that could be. I mean, it could be that certain people live such private lives, they don't even know who lives next door. I met someone who told me they can't even identify the names of the people who live in the same buildings. But a person is influenced. And if your neighbor is constantly involved in, let's say, volunteering to help the people who are homebound, they're always going over and they're always speaking with them, they're shopping for them, they're cajoling them, they're helping them, or people who are, unfortunately, whose hearts are broken. And your neighbor is constantly involved in it, you will also become involved in it. Because when you walk through a perfume factory, even if you don't touch any perfume, even if you don't use any of the sample bottles, something is absorbed. Just walk through a square block perfume factory, and you'll notice that the fragrance is different afterwards. Herachek mishachein ra. I think that if a person lives next door or very close to a great person, then they have it's a very, very precious. It's a very, very precious real estate investment. I don't care how much the other houses on the block are going for. If you live next door to someone who's living an exemplary life, you are very, very blessed because you'll have constant contact. Hey, Rachek mishachein ra. Be careful. Stay away from a bad neighbor. I have here in my notes the entire quotation from the Rambam, Maimonides, at the beginning of his work, in the beginning of Mishna Torah. He writes at length about how a person is always influenced. A man is a social animal, as you remember, from various studies, from various philosophers. We are very heavily influenced by the people that we associate with. Be careful. Be careful who your neighbors are. I did write, though, that another way of reading this is distance yourself from being a bad neighbor. In other words, the way it's usually translated is, okay, they're the bad neighbor, right? Stay away from them. Maybe, I think it fits into the Hebrew words, and I do remember people understanding it this way. I remember my father, of blessed memory, he studied Pirkei Avot. He used to teach Pirkei Avot every spring and every summer, and I went to many of his classes. You You should distance yourself from being a bad neighbor. What does a bad neighbor mean? Well, I mean, do you smile? Do you smile to your neighbor? Do you greet them? Somebody moves into the neighborhood. Do you go over and welcome them? Do you bake them a cake? Do you greet them? Do you offer them a meal? Do you show them around? Are you impolite to your neighbors? Are you sensitive to the needs of your neighbors? Do you take into consideration that which your neighbors are? Maybe heirachek mishachenra means you yourself should be far away from being a bad neighbor. It's so easy to point to someone else. They are the bad neighbor. But as someone pointed out, when you point one finger that way, so there are about three. Does this come out of this? No, I have to go like this.
Yeah, no.
This way? Here?
In the middle.
Yeah, okay. Whatever it is, whether it comes out on YouTube or not. When you point one finger this way, you're pointing maybe three fingers this way. Yes, that's more than one, right? So it's their fault. Maybe it's your fault. Maybe they're not the bad neighbor. Maybe you're the bad neighbor. Is that possible? Is that possible? Oy l'rasha v'oy l'shecheno. The rabbis teach, woe to the wicked person, but woe also to their neighbor. When something negative is happening, so it could also affect the person's neighbor or neighborhood. Choose a neighbor. Choose neighbors, or become the kind of neighbors that are very kind, very sensitive, and very righteous. Let's say in terms of even religious activities. Let's say you have a neighbor who's constantly going to Torah classes. So you're not so interested in going to Torah classes, but and you see them walking out and say, "You know where I'm going tonight? I'm going to a Torah." Oh, where you going? I'm going to pray. You're not so interested in going to pray, but you're just like you. There's a certain kind. What? Yeah, no, you feel it. Because that's what Hirachik Mishachem Ra means. I don't want to give examples of the opposite, because sometimes a person can be leading a person away from proper activities. But the second teaching of Nitai, which some people don't understand what exactly is the difference between the first one and the second, Va'al titchaber larasha. Do not associate with a person who is a person of wickedness, an evil person. Exactly how to define these terms, I'm leaving it vague, right? He says here, Al titchaber larasha. Choose your friends. Choose the people that you consider to be your friends. Al titchaber. Now, if you're going to try to go out there and you will influence them, maybe you want to be their spiritual guide, you want to be their mentor, you want to be their spiritual leader. That's possible, but you have to be careful, because in a environment of friendship, the person is taken away from that which they understand to be proper. There are many people who have suffered spiritual downfalls because they had the wrong kinds of friends. Now, I know this is a common defense that's used by many parents. They've been trying to at least pretend that I've been teaching for a long time, and I've met many parents on Parent-Teachers Night. Not so much here in Israel, but when I used to teach, before I came to Israel, and almost every parent who has a problematic child in terms of behavior, it's not my child. My child is like, they have bad friends. I mean, it's like this one is their friend. It could be. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe, but there is such a concept. There's surely people who, if you change the people that they associate with, there will be major changes. Al titchaber larasha. Try not to become the friend of the wicked. You want to become the teacher of the wicked? You want to become the guide of the wicked? That's fine. But just like to chill together, just hang out and whatever they're doing, I'm doing, and think that it will not have an effect upon you. In the book of Proverbs, one of the examples they give there is someone who's playing with fire, and you have to be very careful, because once you start playing with fire, it is possible. Everyone should be protected. No one should ever have any negative results of it. But sometimes, if there are people who had maybe at the beginning good intentions, but titchaber larasha, after their association with people, let's say in business, instead of who is your business partner, maybe choose a business partner has high level of ethics, or high level of integrity. You say, well, I mean, okay, so they're not so honest. I'm honest. They're not so honest. There are people who started off very honestly, and once they associated with people who were the opposite of honest, they changed their pathway in life. The third teaching is V'al tityaesh min hapur'anut. V'al tityaesh min hapur'anut. And don't give up the belief in divine retribution. Al tityaesh min hapur'anut. Don't, the word yi'ush. Yi'ush means like, just what? Yi'ush, like, just giving up hope. Some people, I was trying to study this afternoon. What's the flow of the Mishna? He's talking about two different kinds. The first two seem to go together. We've mentioned this in several of the Mishnayot. You have to put all three together. Don't stay away from a bad neighbor. Don't join together with a bad friend. I mean, maybe a neighbor, some people understand because you see all the time. Not only a neighbor, but even a friend who you don't see all the time. Then what is this third thing? It seemingly does nothing to do with anything. And don't give up your belief in retribution. And it could be, that there are some times when a person lives next door to a wicked person. I'm just coming right now. I don't know, today was a very, very serious day, very sad day for the entire nation of Israel, the entire Jewish people, and for the entire world.
Yes.
People who are sensitive. And we spent many, many hours today at the funeral of those three boys. May Hashem bless their souls and console their families. And sometimes when you associate with the wicked, you think like, I don't see God punishing anyone. Where is God? And you see people getting away with evil activities. So according to one interpretation, if you're going to live near a wicked person, I see my wicked neighbor, everything seems to be going so well for them. I see my wicked friend, and they seem to be prospering. So who says there's anything wrong with doing anything bad? It doesn't seem to be that God is involved in any kind of al tityaesh min hapur'anut, as the Midrash Shmuel and others write. If you see a bad neighbor, a wicked person doing evil, and God seems to be tolerating it, don't say that God takes no interest in earthly matters or that serving God is worthless. Know that eventually there will be some form of divine retribution. Al tityaesh min hapur'anut. Or another possible interpretation of the Rav, Rabbeinu Ovadia Bar Tanura, he's talking here about people who have neighbors who are wicked, associates who are wicked. And maybe when a wicked person is experiencing success, there are pictures on the front page of the newspaper. They're making, way beyond 6 digits in their salary. They have everything going for them. The person thinks, well, maybe I should join them. In other words, what would be the temptation of joining together with a shachein ra and a rasha, a chaver rasha? The temptation would be, look how great they are. The whole world is holding them, and al tityaesh min hapur'anut. Don't give up. Don't think that there will be no punishment. The punishment will happen. It will take place, and the day of reckoning will be there. One of my great teachers, his name is Rabbi Victor Miller, of blessed memory. He always used to teach us this. He said that when people are doing so well, wicked people are doing so well, he said it's temporary, and he would keep tabs. This was one of his, I guess, hobbies. No, seriously, right? I don't know anybody else who did it right. What? In other words, okay. So you see, like, where's God? Rasha v'tovlo. The Rasha has everything going for them, and he would show. Sometimes it's not today, sometimes it's tomorrow, sometimes it's not tomorrow, it's next week or next month or next. And he would come back with these reports. It's not on page 1. The sensational stories of the success are on page 1. Sometimes in the back of page 47, in a small little column, you have to read the entire story. Al tityaesh min hapur'anut. Even if you do meet people who are ra'im and rishamim, remember, there is a God, and one of the 13 basic principles of Jewish faith is that God rewards those who do righteous deeds, and the opposite for those who don't. Thank you so much for listening. May the teachings of the entire Arbeli be incorporated into our
Amen.
Shalom, and may the Jewish nation and the whole world never suffer again.
Amen.
And may there never be any kind of problem dealing with the pain of seeing such brutal murders and seeing people who, someone said they're animals, and someone else said that that's a very big insult to animals, because animals are acting as animals when human beings act that way. Hashem should bless the souls of these people and comfort the bereaved families. Thank you.